Jonathan, those polls out there, man, they're showing the GOP nomination is Trump's to lose. But, you know, the general election is a different ball game here. So what's your thoughts on the Republican base, understanding that sticking with Trump actually means they're not going to win against Biden next year?
You know, Michael, I don't know that that's what it means. I mean, this is the terrifying part, right? Will Hurd makes the argument that the reason Republicans have to move away from Trump is because if they nominate Trump, he'll lose. And that would be nice to think. I would like to think that, nominating a guy who's been indicted twice and will be indicted again, it would lead to him losing. But right now, Trump is running 5 points ahead of where he was in 2020 against Biden. He's, you look at the polling average, he's right about even with Biden. I am absolutely not convinced that even a Trump under criminal indictment is a surefire loser against Biden. Because of the Electoral College, I think he's got like a 35 to 40% floor on his chances, no matter what. And that's what's really scary. And what we need guys like Will Hurd to say, hey, the reason not to vote against Trump is because he's dangerous for America. Right. Don't support Trump because he's dangerous for America, not because it'll give Joe Biden 4 more years. What is he afraid of? Another bipartisan infrastructure bill? It's ridiculous.
But wait a minute. Jonathan, the brother got booed. He spoke the truth last night and he got booed. I mean, this base is telling him that we don't want to hear it. No, we don't want to hear it. Right? So, so what does it take? What do you do? How do you move? It's not so much a question of moving them off of Trump. They're not going anywhere. But how do you create that lane for the other 65% of the Republican base that it seems to have largely checked out of this process to get them to check back in to eclipse Trump?
I mean, to be very honest, I don't think it's possible. There's a narrow chance of it because we are, an act of God away from something. I mean, look, Donald Trump is old, too. He could have a health event just as much as Joe Biden could. It's possible that the next indictment will magically make Trump unpalatable for some reason to voters. And so it's not worth giving up. I don't think anybody should ever give up. Hope has to have the last word. But you have to be serious about not laying a predicate that's going to make it harder for Biden to beat Trump in the general election, right? If the idea is we got to stop Trump at all costs, then do that, but don't, in the process of it, create off-ramps for Republican voters to stick with Trump in 2024 by pretending that Joe Biden is the second coming of Karl Marx.
Yeah, there is that. Hey, Tom, so you've got NBC News reporting that reads, quote, most of the 2024 candidate field has spent the past 2.5 years validating or turning a blind eye to Trump's false claims that he won the 2020 election, priming the Republican base to believe that Trump is a proven winner against President Biden. Now that we have only a few months, in front of us to try to undo that perception, that base appears reluctant to press the case. Where does this go? Where does this leave us at this point to what Jonathan and I were just saying about, this base sort of holding their hands to their ears, not wanting to hear the truth. But the candidates are the ones I think that can make a difference, but they don't seem to want to.
Right. 2 really important points. One is, as Jonathan pointed out, everybody's making the wrong argument. They're making a transactional argument. It's not that Donald Trump is so bad. It's that he could lose. And then, boy, we'd have Joe Biden. And, just remind everybody, of course, the 3 of us remember this well. When David Duke was running for governor in 1991, George H.W. Bush came out and said, this guy is not one of us. He came within a whisker of actually endorsing the Democrat publicly. You didn't see Bush coming out and saying, hey, got to be careful. Don't want Edward Edwards to win that governorship. He came out and he said the right thing. He said, this guy's a Klansman. Nobody should vote for him. He's not a Republican. And nobody's doing that now. They're saying, well, I know you like Trump and I understand why, but he'll probably lose. You're talking to people who think he won the last time around. They don't think he's a proven loser. And that's the other problem with this, is that you're making an argument that people just fundamentally don't believe. And I think where we are is back in 2016, where you have all these craven, cowardly, venal Republicans who say, once Trump implodes, I'm going to scoop up all those voters. They're all going to come home to me. That didn't happen in 2016. It's not going to happen now. If Trump somehow implodes in this primary, he'll probably, I mean, it'd actually be a great outcome for Joe Biden if he ran third party. But this notion that, but for Donald Trump, they would be flocking to Tim Scott or Nikki Haley, or it's ridiculous. It's laughable.